It's another Apple TV Plus limited series. Let's talk about Disclaimer. Hey everyone, it's David Stark from Watcher Pass. I'm here to talk to you about Disclaimer Season 1, Episode 1, titled 1, Roman numeral 1. It's coming to Apple TV Plus on October 11, 2024. This is a limited series that's coming to Apple TV Plus. The first two episodes are dropping on October 11th, 1 and 2. Easy to name, easy to remember. But this limited series is based on a best-selling book. Is this series worth checking out? My hot take is I think you should watch it. I liked it a lot. It has this really great style, a wonderful cast, and a lot of mystery, especially in the first episode. I am excited to see where it's going. You kind of make some connections in the first episode, but it starts off very mysterious and slowly gives you some pieces as it's telling these three distinct stories. So I definitely think you should check it out. I think this is going to be an interesting series. It's highly anticipated, and I think that was worth it. So I'm going to tell you more about the episode, a few things I liked, a few things I didn't like, and then really quickly go into a recap. So as you can imagine, there will be spoilers in the recap section. If you don't know what happens in this episode, and you might not, there are some surprises, especially right at the end. I would turn it off when I get to the recap. Before that, though, I'll keep it vague. I'll keep it spoiler-free. I'll let you know when I get to those spoilers. So in Disclaimer, you have Catherine, played by Cate Blanchett, who is this acclaimed journalist. She's a documentarian. She is living a great life, getting awards, getting recognition with her husband, Robert, who's played by Sacha Baron Cohen. Love the cast so far. And they seem to be doing well until she receives a novel from an unknown author that seems to scare her. Now, while this story is happening, you have two other stories that are related, it seems, to this entire endeavor, and they kind of slowly connect as this episode goes forward. So, things I liked about this episode. The first, I love the cast. It's a great cast. I mean, Cate Blanchett is fantastic. I love Sacha Baron Cohen as Robert. It is a very un-Sacha Baron Cohen role, which I like. I love to see actors do something different, although maybe he'll get a little bit more silly as this goes on. He seems to be fairly straightforward, fairly supportive, very kind of like by the book. Kevin Kline is in it as this like old teacher who is kind of jaded. It's just a fantastic overall cast, which is great for a limited series like this. The second thing I love the different stories. Like I said, there's three distinct stories. They all seem to relate, but they start off as very different, so you don't really know what's going on. I like the way that it told the story and jumped between them, really kind of kept it interesting, kept it fresh. The third thing I love the mystery. There is definitely some mystery. There's gonna be some mystery in this entire series, it seems, but at least in the first episode, you don't know a bunch at the start, and you slowly get little nibbles of information here and there as this story progresses, and you kind of make the connections as they're given to you. And last thing I love the ending. It has a good ending. It makes you want to know what happens next. It makes you want to jump right into episode 2, which you can, because they're both dropping at the same day. So I thought the ending really kind of like tied it all together and gave you a motivation to start the next episode. So things I didn't like really wasn't much. I mean, it's a little bit slow, but you know what? That's kind of the style of this series, it seems, and it makes sense that they're kind of slow at the start as they're trying to tell the overall story. So I didn't really mind it that much. So there really wasn't anything I didn't love. But that is Disclaimer. Comes to Apple TV Plus on October 11th, 2024. Like I said, I definitely think you should check it out. And if you do watch it, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I'd love to hear it. And I'm going to really quickly go into a recap of this episode. So if you don't know what happens in this episode, I would turn it off now because there will be spoilers. So there are three main storylines in this episode. I'm just going to go each one individually, make it easier to kind of tell the story. As it's telling the story in the episodes, it jumps between them. But, you know, for my purposes, I'll just tell about each of them. So the first story, the first people that we meet are Joinathan and Sacha. They are a young couple who's in love traveling around in Italy. And it seems like you don't get dates, but it seems like it was a while ago they used paper maps. I don't know if anyone has seen a paper map in a long time. And they use like an actual film camera, which I know is in vogue with the youth, with some youth, but I think most people traveling would not use an actual film camera. They use an actual film camera. So they're traveling in Europe, they're exploring Italy, they're being silly and in love and a little bit rebellious. But eventually, Sacha gets a call from her mother. Her mother's sister was killed in an accident, and Sacha has to return to London. So this leaves Joinathan by himself in Italy. And while he's by himself, something happens that I think will change the course of his life and all the other stories here. Now, next up, we've got Catherine and Robert. Like I said, Catherine is a well-regarded documentarian. She's an acclaimed journalist, and she and Robert seem to have a good life. You know, they are living together. They have a son named Nicholas who's 25, and she has recently kind of like forced him to move out. He's 25. He should be living on his own. He doesn't seem to like this, but he should be doing it. Now, eventually, Catherine gets a package, and she opens it up, and it's this book, and she reads it one night and then has this like visceral reaction to it. She throws up after she reads it. The next morning, she tries to burn the book. Her husband, Robert, sees this, stops her, and she says that she thinks she's being punished. She thinks the book is about her. He's like, "What are you talking about? It's just a book." She's like, "No, this is about me." She starts talking about what happened with Nick. And at this point, you don't know if this is related to events in the book or events in her past or present. Now, Robert interprets this as events in the present, that she's upset that she made Nick move out and that he's resenting her and that, she is sad about this. But I think it could be something that happened in the past, given what we learn a little bit later. Now, eventually, Nick is in the house and he sees a little like bookmark or like postcard about that book that Catherine tried to burn. And he said, "Oh, I read that book. I thought it was pretty good." And he's like, how did you get this book?" And she's like, "Oh, it was a present from a grateful customer. They just left it with my name." And so she tries to grill him a little bit, and you can tell that Nick is upset with his mother. So eventually he like gets mad at her and says, yes, he loved the book because the main character dies at the end of the book and she deserved it. So that gives you a little bit of insight into this. It seems like this book, if Catherine thinks that this book is related to her, it seems like it is a negative story because the character died and everyone, and Nicholas at least, thought it was okay. So you get a little bit of hint there. Now, that's the last little bit we get of Catherine and Robert. The last person is this person named Stephen. He's an old teacher. He is jaded. He feels like he is kind of over teaching. You start with him getting yelled at by a parent for like saying something mean about her kid, and he's like, I meant it. It was true." So it seems like he is just kind of like over it. Now he also seems to be kind of like trying to get over his wife who had died 9 years ago. We see that he is donating her clothes to some service and kind of clearing out her closets. Now, this could be a few things. Maybe he's getting ready to end his life. Maybe he just is trying to move on. We don't know, but he is clearing out his house. Now, eventually, well, after he clears out Nancy's closet, there's a loose board, and in it he finds a purse. And in the purse, there's a few things. There is a key, and also there are pictures. And we look at the pictures, and the pictures are from Joinathan and Sacha's trip. So the characters that we met earlier, these pictures are of them. And eventually, he looks through some of the pictures, and there are pictures from the trip that we've seen. We've seen that, but then it gets to pictures of what looked like, maybe a young Catherine, this like young blonde lady, and these pictures turn a little bit risque. So Stephen is kind of like, confused about this. He says that he knew this woman, but he thought that she was just an innocent bystander in his life's demise. So it seems like this woman, who could be Catherine, um, has intertwined with Stephen's life and especially his son Joinathan. I think Joinathan is dead at this point, so maybe something about that caused him to die. We will find out. Now, eventually, Stephen uses that key to open the desk. The desk is his wife Nancy's. He hadn't opened it yet to respect her privacy, but I guess the pictures kind of like piqued his interest. And inside the desk, he finds a manuscript for a book called The Perfect Stranger, dated 18 September 2011. So he shows the book to a friend who likes it. He says, "Hey, we should get this published. We should publish this. This is a great book." And so he agrees with his friend and they self-publish this book. They create this book, which is called The Perfect Stranger, and it looks very much like the book that Catherine burned earlier. It has the same cover, same look. So it seems like this book from Stephen is the book that Catherine received that she thought was about her. We also see in the book there is an inscription at the start that says, "To my son Joinathan." So it seems like this book was related to Joinathan. It seems like his wife wrote this about her son, about her son's adventures, and we will see what happens. Now, that's all we get from Stephen. At the very end, we do get a little bit more of Joinathan's story in Italy. He is alone, so he starts kind of going around, and eventually he goes to the beach to relax. And while he's there, he starts taking pictures. And in front of him, we see this beautiful blonde lady with a kid that she calls Nicholas. So, seems like this is probably young Catherine. Seems like this is a young Nicholas also. And Joinathan starts taking pictures of her. And as he's taking pictures, she turns and looks at him and smiles. And so that seems to be maybe the start of a relationship, because remember those pictures that we saw were of or of this lady who's probably Catherine in like a little bit more risque poses. So that's all we know. That is the end of the first episode. What do we think probably happened? Well, I mean, Joinathan is young and hot-headed. It seems like maybe him and Catherine had some sort of whirlwind romance in Italy on vacation now that his girlfriend Sasha is gone. Maybe Nicholas found out about this. Maybe something happened to Nicholas while they were doing this. I'm not sure, but it seems like that will probably be what happened. It seems like they had a romance. Something happened to her son Nicholas, which is what she feels regret about. But it also seems like probably something happened to Jonathan. Maybe like after this, maybe after she broke up with him, maybe after this romance, he like couldn't handle it and killed himself. Maybe when his girlfriend found out about this, he couldn't handle it and killed himself. That's just my guess, given kind of the clues that we have, given that Steven mentions that this woman, like, ruined his life and that Nancy wrote a book about it. So I think that's probably what happens, but we'll find out later. We'll find out maybe in the next episode, but that is Disclaimer, season one, episode one. Like I said, I definitely think you should watch it. I think it's interesting. I think it has a lot of fun clues, and I think it'll be a fun journey overall. So if you do check it out, let me know what you think. Let me know what you liked and didn't like. I would love to hear it. And thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you.